Thank you, Manushi, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. So, was going through your entire journey. How did acting happen? And before that, what pushed you into competing in the Miss World pageant, right? You're from a family of doctors.
Yes.
Your parents are doctors.
Yes.
You were studying medicine.
Yes, I was.
And how did Miss World happen?
Well, I think every girl growing up always has this. We all love to be princesses, and that was the idea in a 4-year-old girl's mind that Miss India means you get to be the princess of the country, and that's what I thought. Then, life happened, and I think I pretty much never thought about it again up until I was 14, and I remember watching the Miss World finals again, and it was being telecasted on a television channel, and I remember watching the finals, and suddenly, my interest into the competition sparked because I realized that this is so much more. It's a platform for young girls from every field. You could be anyone from anywhere, and it's a great platform to get visibility, which also increases the amount of opportunities you have. Where I come from, growing up, you had to either choose to be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer. I remember my relatives telling me, "Koi baat nahi beta, kuch nahi hua to graduation ke baad IAS ki tayari kar lena." So those were the options that I grew up with. Acting was never a plan. It happened pretty much after winning Miss World. I went to Miss World thinking that it's a great platform, a great experience, and then let's see what happens. And I always tell this to people who come to me and they tell me that, so if we want to be actors, what do we do? And I say that I'm the wrong person to ask that question because I'm not one of those who would leave everything and just go to Mumbai to become an actor. I believe in having a certain level of security before you try something new in life. There is a certain risk attached to it, but I think that has to be a calculated amount of risk that you need to take. That's how I've been brought up. So it was only after I won Miss World and after I had that platform, when I got the right kind of opportunities, when I transitioned into films. And I guess that's how acting happened.
Okay, let me put it this way. So you won the Miss World pageant 17 years after Priyanka Chopra, am I correct?
Yes.
17 years after Priyanka Chopra. So it's not easy.
It isn't.
It's not easy. So at the Youth Summit, I'm sure a lot of people thought about it. It may have come to people's minds. Like you said, when you growing up, you wanted to be there on the big stage. But how difficult is it? What goes into being there on the big stage and winning it?
I was a very confident kid. I was a kid who was always told by her parents that you're great, you can do whatever you want to do. I never thought much, and I think it's a good thing it happens at that age when you don't have too much perspective about the world because you're just so confident. Your confidence is at top. Your experience is zilch. I just wanted to have that experience of being on that stage. I didn't think much. Honestly, for me, it was just an experience that I wanted to have. I remember when I was going for the competition, there was a lot of pressure, especially because once you win Miss India, there's a proper boot camp that you're put into. So 3 months of lots of training. And
What kind of training?
I was very raw. Let's start with just basic grooming of how to be in front of the camera, how to be on stage. Because pageantry is all about presenting yourself in the best possible manner. There's no real preparation for it. It's whenever people ask me, I was 20 when I won Miss World, so it was 20 years of just understanding yourself and then 3 months of understanding how to present yourself in the best manner on that stage. I pretty much, so the training pretty much included oh my God, learning how to do my own makeup and hair, the frivolity of what pageants are also about, but then putting your thoughts across, reading a lot about pageants, reading about past winners, about what Miss World had been doing for so many years, about all the projects that they support. So I think a combination of many things, simple things like standing on stage. I remember a very small article my mother once pulled out saying that you really have to work on your leg muscles because you'll have to be in 6-inch heels on that stage. So these simpler things, putting it all together. I guess that was the prep that I was going through. But once the prep was done, I remember when I was at the airport and I was boarding my flight to China, the team came and they told me we have a lot of hopes and we haven't won the crown in a very long time. And we need to prove ourselves as a team because we're a new team and we need to have that winner and we do believe in you.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, no pressure. But the minute I sat on that flight, I said, one in millions of girls get this opportunity to even compete or to go and interact with the kind of people I got to interact with. So I said, now the prep is done. I'm just going to have fun. And that's what I did. I just had fun.
No, I'm sure I'm sure it took a lot also to crack an MBBS exam and get into a college and study medicine.
This was fun for me.
So, okay, let me put it this way. You were studying medicine.
Yes.
And then you went into pageantry.
I did.
And then you moved to acting.
I did.
And you're also an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I heard that
Trying
today.
to be.
I just started out last year, so it's not even been a year, but I think the whole idea is for me to see, I've always had little dreams as a child, and I've always looked up to so many people who were doing great things, celebrated people. Whenever I'd see them on television doing wonderful things, I always said, okay, I want to do this and that. And I think the beauty of life and the beauty of today's world is that you get to do multiple things and you don't need to just stick to that one thing that you're supposed to do. And that's what I'm trying to do. I am doing films, and but along with that, healthcare has always been my first passion. It's my first love. It's every dinner conversation in our family. And my father, he is into regenerative medicine. So every night, he's constantly discussing whatever is the new research, which doctor is trying what in which part of the world, and what are the results. So there's always, so that's something which comes very naturally to me. And I always wanted to become a doctor, and I wanted to, eventually, initially I thought I'll become a surgeon, and all my professors kind of pushed me into that direction because I was very good at dissection and in anatomy. I was very good. So they said, you'll be a very good surgeon. But I think regenerative medicine, especially when I traveled as Miss World, really sparked my interest. And I said, okay, if I cannot do it as a doctor, I do have a lovely doctor at home who's doing it. So we both decided to together start our own little clinic for regenerative medicine and try to bring all the therapies that we were reading about people doing in the States or other parts of the world. Apart from that, I do have my own beachwear brand. Fashion's always interested me, and I'm a complete beach bum. I absolutely love being by the sea. And I said, why not have an Indian brand that talks about, we have such a long coastline. Why shouldn't we talk about a sustainable, comfortable fashion to wear at a beach and have a good time? So, right now I'm trying out many, many things. And I've literally just started less than a year ago.
Okay, how difficult is it to transition? You're from Delhi, NCR, right? You have
Yes.
roots here, right?
Yes.
And then when you went to Mumbai, and I've spoken to a lot of aspiring actors because we spent a lot of time in Mumbai, nearly 15, 20 years, and Arnab is also here. Our studios, we were based out of Mumbai. And we know how difficult it is because thousands and thousands of them come to Mumbai to crack it, but very few make it.
Yes.
And did you have any of those struggles that you want to talk about? Or you've seen perhaps?
The transition from Delhi to Mumbai?
Yes, and getting into acting and the entire journey.
It takes time, but that's with every profession. We live in a world where we want instant gratification and we want instant results. Look at the life of a doctor. You study for at least 11 and a half to 13 years till you actually get to do what you really want to do. So similarly, I think we forget the fact that acting is a profession, and a lot of times it will take time to get results.
Yeah.
Especially when you're not from the industry, when you're an outsider, you're not from the city, settling yourself into a new city, finding your ground, getting that first opportunity, then initially, and it's not like you get to choose your opportunities. You have to pretty much choose between what you're being offered. Eventually, to proving yourself, that's a long journey. And in any other industry, I'm sure even in your profession, it takes years and years of work to establish yourself. So that is a struggle, like any other profession. But yes, the success rate is much lesser. It's a lot more competitive than medicine, for sure. I can say that. And like I said, I was fortunate that I got that platform. So my first film was Miss World had a lot to do with that. That's something I completely understand. But after that, settling into a new city, I made my parents move to Mumbai.
Yeah.
If you were to specifically talk about the transition from Delhi to Mumbai, we missed the food, we missed the space. But
Yeah, I agree with you on the food part of it.
the food. Oh, we missed the food in Delhi.
Mumbai,
But apart from that, I think it's just settling into a new city, a new industry that you know nothing about. So you have to pretty much start from level zero. It's an industry that also runs on a lot of connections, and you need for people to get to know you. You need to get to know the culture or just how things work. So that takes a lot of time. It takes time, but I'd say that if you really are serious about pursuing acting, then then don't look for that instant gratification that I'll immediately get my first project, and then that project will be a super hit, and then suddenly I'll become this star. It takes time. Everything takes time, and it's a good thing, because slow success is so much better than overnight success.
Yeah, I agree with you. Coming to the next point, of course, there is this pressure that comes with it, right? When I say pressure, of course, with all the accolades, there will be criticism, right? There will be controversies, right? And speaking of controversies, social media plays a big part. And I wanted to ask you this question because there have been so many controversies in the recent past, right? There is a Saif Ali Khan controversy. I'll get to that later. I know you're doing a movie with him. You may not want to talk about it. You may want to talk about it. But then there's also the controversy of social media. What's your take on that? People, public figures on social media, what they say on social media, do you have a say on that?
I think people take social media too seriously, and it shouldn't be taken that seriously. Personally, I only joined social media because I was supposed to be on social media to compete at Miss India. I don't enjoy it as much, but it is a platform, and it's a great platform to put across what you want to say. There's a certain amount of personality that you can build through social media. And I'm an actor. I know I know the value of creating perception, but I think that's pretty much it. I feel the pressure. I feel people shouldn't take the pressure of social media or maintaining a certain image on social media unless it really adds value to your life. It adds value to your profession, because today, I have a younger brother, and I see a lot of his friends. When we go on trips and he brings his friends along, they all come with this equipment that I don't need. They come with tripods and everything, and they're like, we have to create content. And I said, for what? They said, no, it's our Instagram needs to look. And I said, that's too much pressure on at your age. Like, but this, so I feel like we need to understand that Instagram is also a certain bubble.
Yeah.
We always joke about this, that being Insta famous might also, like, just being Insta famous might also be like being rich in Monopoly.
Yeah.
It's great. Instagram is great when you have other things to support it. But if social media is the only thing you're doing, then it's not a very healthy way of living, because the real world is very different. Whenever I do a film, sometimes you want to mentally just be in a different space. I delete all my social media. I do that whenever I'm doing a film. And
you delete your social media?
I delete it, and I delete the apps on my phone, and then I have someone else post for me whatever is required during that period of time.
You post yourself?
Yeah, a lot of times.
Okay.
Unless I'm shooting a film.
Because I know most of them have their
No,
teams,
unless
right?
I'm shooting a film. Otherwise, I mean, if someone else was curating my social media, it would be much better. But it's pretty much me mostly. And whenever I shoot a film, then I have someone else post for me because then I want to be, away and I want to kind of focus on just that little world that we create when we're shooting a film. And that's when I realized that there's so much more to the world, and sometimes we forget that. We lose perspective. So I feel that there's a right balance that needs to be struck. I see youngsters taking social media too seriously, which they shouldn't.
You think that's, I mean, you said something about the Insta bubble, right? You
Yes.
said Insta bubble. You think this Insta bubble is going to burst? Because I've seen, not to sound very old, but I remember Orkut, right? Orkut, remember Orkut? And then there was...
You know, I was not allowed to be on Orkut. My parents didn't allow it.
And then came Facebook.
Yes.
And Facebook, I don't know how many people here use Facebook anymore. I know it is used in many parts of the country, but it's not...
I think Facebook is still very popular amongst a different generation.
Different generation and also different, demography. It's not
Yes.
used, especially in urban areas, as much as we do now. But Insta is the latest fad, right? But do you think this Insta bubble also will perhaps at some point fade out?
I think that's life, right? Like something else has to take over. It's pretty normal. Like eventually there will be some new form of social media that will take over. Maybe Instagram will, Instagram will kind of like, I remember with the addition of Reels before TikTok was popular, then TikTok was not anymore, it wasn't accessible in India anymore, and then we had Instagram Reels, etc. So I guess there'll always be something that will take over, and there'll always be a different form of social media. I don't know if it's going to be through Instagram or something else, but I'm sure that'll burst soon. And it already is. Like, I see so many of, like I was talking about my brother's friends now, so many of them are off social media because they just said, what's the point?
Keep up with that pressure, right?
What's the point?
Yeah. You spoke about a perception that, personalities try to
Sorry
keep...
to interrupt you, but just to add on to the last
sure.
point, I'd say that sometimes it's all right to not know what everyone thinks about you. So you don't need to always...
Do you check? Do you
Not
check?
anymore.
But do you used to at some point?
When I was younger, when I just joined social media and I just won Miss World, I mean, see, when you have a few hundreds to thousands of followers initially, then they're pretty much your friends, and it's more social media and less of like you just being on social media and the public having access to you. And then after Miss World, I remember I probably for a few months, and then I realized, okay, this is not getting me anywhere, and then I stopped.
No, I agree, because we face that often. I mean, somebody, when we see something and then someone's abusing you, you're like, okay, fine, forget about it. Yeah, so I get that. I was going to ask you about, you mentioned the pressure that celebrities come under. And I'm asking you this because recently I saw what happened with Preeti Zinta, right? I'm sure you know about how she's being targeted on social media. There are perceptions that celebrities hold or want to portray themselves as. Mostly they try and stay out of controversy, they don't take sides. But increasingly I'm seeing, or it has been the case for the last maybe few years, right? They say something, for example, Preeti Zinta is targeted because she says something good about the Mahakumbh or the government, right? Now, how do you react to that? Do you have a take on that? Is it important for people to take sides?
See, I think it's great to have opinions. I was taught in school and by my parents that it's good to be opinionated, because you need to take power of your own life. Like, you need to eventually make your own decisions. So, I mean, what does it mean to be empowered? It means to be able to make your own decisions, to decide for yourself. And to decide for yourself, you need to have opinions. But sometimes certain opinions are meant for you to know. It's not, you don't need to go out there and, tell everyone about it. And the beauty of living in a society is the fact that everyone will have different opinions. Everyone will have a different take towards things. And we need to understand that just because I look at that bird and I see a beautiful bird that I can photograph, someone else might look at it and see, oh, it's a delicious bird that I can eat. Or someone else might look at it and say, you know what, I want this bird to fly, so I'm going to throw a stone at it. Everyone looks at the same thing differently. And I think that's the beauty of living in a society. And that's what we must understand, which I sometimes see, that if you don't have the same opinion as me, me, that means you're wrong and I'm right. I think that's a very archaic way of living. That's a very that's not very evolved, is what I personally feel. But having said that, there's one thing in school, like we used to get into a lot of debates, especially related to politics. We used to all have our little opinions, and our teachers used to encourage us to have opinions. And those debates would lead into fights. Best friends would fight. No, this is right, that is right. And then we all came into this conclusion. You know what? Everyone's going to keep their own religious and political opinions to themselves. And if we're sharing it, we will be respectful to the other person. And I think those are very personal. So I'll say that there are two aspects to this. It's important to have opinions. And it's also all right to let people know. I don't see personally, I don't share a lot of them because I feel like they're for me to know. I don't need to go and tell people out there. But just because a celebrity is putting their opinion out there doesn't mean that they are wrong just because you don't agree with them.
Yeah.
Also, public figures might be influencers, but they're also individuals. And sometimes I think we give them a little too much importance based on the opinions they have, because we feel if they've put this opinion out there, that means everyone's going to think that it's the gospel truth. No, I think people are smart enough to know what's the truth. No one is looking at Instagram and saying, oh, if Preeti Zinta said this, so I will believe in this only, and this is the truth of my life. I don't think that's true. So I feel most times they're targeted a little too much.
I agree with you on that.
So I guess, so there are both sides to it.
Okay. So, I know that millions of students try to get into the medicine field every year. And many of them fail, right? And there are so many suicides as well. And we report that a lot in the news. Millions of them try to be a Miss World, they fail, right? And millions try to get into acting, but they fail. What's your advice to the youth? Because this is the Youth Summit. What's your advice to them when you speak to the younger generation?
The only thing that's certain in life is uncertainty, and that's the beauty of it. I never knew that I would be an actor in my life. I never thought of my life in that manner. I always looked, I enjoyed being on stage, I enjoyed performing, I enjoyed being in front of the camera, but I never thought of it as a profession. And honestly, the one thing I'd like to say to everyone is that you never know what plans life has for you. And I truly, truly believe in divine intervention. And I feel that there is a lot of destiny that also goes into what actually ends up happening in our lives. Sometimes we have plans, and many a times things don't go the way we've planned. It's happened to me as well. But I'd say that we take too much pressure and we think that this is the end of the world, whereas it's not. I've been a medical student, and I know the amount of pressure, and at that point, we're all thinking this is the end of it. We have to give our 10th boards, 12th boards, we have to get a certain amount of marks, and we think that that's life, and uske baad sab theek ho jayega. Life is a very long journey, and I feel that it is the responsibility of parents and teachers to instill this in children, that this is not life, this is a stage, this is an exam, it's a phase, it'll go. It's preparing you for what's coming next, and then what's coming next. And life is filled with many exams. I think now, since I'm older and I gave my medical entrance 9 or 10 years ago. And I'd say that's probably the easiest thing I've done. Ever since, life will throw bigger tasks and bigger exams at you. Yeah. So I feel it's important for parents and teachers and people who are guiding, who are mentors, to change this mindset of this is the end of it. Agar main actor nahi bana to kuch nahi. That's, I feel like there's so much to life, and sometimes we ourselves are so limited in our thought process, thinking that this is our dream and this is what we're going to achieve. Also, we've over-glorified to hustle just for that one thing that you want in life. Sometimes life has something bigger and better planned for you. So you need to have faith. You need to be patient, and sometimes things will not go your way, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah. Couple of last questions. I see a lot of young children who come into our newsrooms, right? They're very confident. And it appears like they know exactly what they want to do. They are very, very ambitious. But they don't have the patience, right? What's your advice? I mean, have you encountered that? I mean, what's your take on that, and what would be your advice to the young generation?
I mean, like I said, when you're in that, you're leaving school, you're entering college, your confidence is at 100 and your experience is at zilch. So I've gone through that phase myself. Confidence is great, but again, we live in a world where people want instant gratification, and people have forgotten what it really means to have slow success, to build something. And if you want something that lasts, then you will have to have the patience to build it step by step. You'll have to put effort. Anything in life, whether it's your career, whether it's a business, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, anything in life will require time, effort, and it will require a lot of patience till it actually shows results. But the beauty of slow success is that it builds character, and slow success is what actually lasts and will give you fruits for a much longer time compared to, again, instant gratification.
Absolutely. Finally, would you have preferred to be a doctor, Miss World, actor, entrepreneur?
I think I'm doing all four right now.
Which one would you pick if you had to pick one?
Not a doctor. If I had to pick one.
Not a doctor.
I mean, I'm not a qualified doctor, but I do have a regenerative clinic.
Yes, yeah.
So, hey, acting makes me the money to put into regenerative health. Let's say that, one profession supports another. That's a really difficult one. See, I'll give you the pros and cons of everything. Doctor is great because my parents are doctors. I knew what to expect. It came naturally to me. I was good at studies. I was really good in college. It was like home ground, But I wanted to do something of my own, I wanted to build something of my own. And I feel like medicine, as lovely and as great as it was, there's a lot of confidence and a lot of pride in doing something of your own. And while medicine is again your own effort, for me, the amount of learning I've had simply because I've gone into a different field it's been tremendous, which I don't think I would have had if I would have stayed in a medical college. Actor is great because it's a very exciting life. It's not easy, but it's again very fulfilling. The craft itself teaches you so much about who you are, and if you're a philosopher, then acting is a great field because you get to discover so much about yourself. Entrepreneur again is these are all interlinked. I'd say they're all
because
they're
if
all
you're
interlinked.
an actor and you put that money into regenerative medicine, you become an entrepreneur.
I'm doing all four, so it will be difficult for me to choose one.
Which one would you enjoy the most, perhaps? Or you had fun doing the most?
I had fun doing the most. I think whichever. For now, the one that reached its pinnacle and gave me results was Miss World.
Yeah.
So I'll put that on the top. That's pretty much it, right? In pageantry, there was nothing after. Yes. So that's a journey that was completed, and everything else has just started. Acting just started 2 years ago. Entrepreneurship started less than a year ago. Medicine, I started, didn't finish, but I'd say will finish once I'm able to scale the clinic. But everything else is a journey that I've just started, and pageantry is something I finished.
Fantastic. Manushi, Chillar, everybody, please give a round of applause for Manushi, Chillar. Thank you for being here with us and sharing your story, your journey with us here at Republic.